I hope that in some visible future I will be able to produce a comprehensive course dedicated to this concerto, the same way I did with Brahms Concerto 1 this summer, but for now, unfortunately, I just don't have time for that. So let me just share with you a quick tip how to learn one of the most tricky spots from this concerto, namely solo cadenza from the third movement. So in order to play that efficiently, we have to do two things principally. First of all, get rid of unnecessary tension and to track spots where we accumulate tension. And secondly, we have to coordinate motion. So let's have a look what happens here. For example, in the right hand, we can play a lot of things using gravity or by coordinating motions. Like, for example, the first chord we play on the movement in the keyboard. And imagine that you grasp the keys gently. Imagine that your fingers are little rabbits, so they jump. Boom. But the movement is in the keyboard, forward. Elbow goes forward. And the next chord, but of course, those are very tiny movements. In. And the next chord is played on the movement out, but nevertheless very lightly and releasing the fingers immediately. So at first I would suggest you to practice it like in, out, immediately releasing the fingers. Pum, 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 like that. And these two notes, they belong to the next beat. So it's in, out, in, out. So I would suggest you to learn it with a break after the second chord. Pum, 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 pum. Yeah. And of course releasing pum, releasing fingers immediately. Because if you play that figure through tension, then of course you would feel yourself uncomfortable. That's why separate that. When you practice, learn immediate release and separate elements. Always releasing the hand between these elements, and of course using gravity. So always remembering that mezzo forte in Rachmaninoff, it's like mezzo piano in Chopin, or maybe piano in Schubert. Yeah, so it's a very modest dynamics. That's why it should be light, very brilliant, but nevertheless fit. Yeah, not heavy and without effort, because any amount of tension that you might have here will slow you down. Yeah, so let's have a look at the further spot. In the left hand, one temptation that you might have is holding the third, this one. That's why as soon as you proceed to the thumb, release the rest of the fingers. Make sure you do it consciously. Palm, release. And then another trick playing that figure is that you might shorten the third, actually, the triplet. Playing not like but playing it shorter, having a small gap for a better release and hand replacement between positions between these figures, because in a faster tempo it all will blend anyway. So unless you declare to someone, as I do now, nobody will ever notice that you shorten. Yeah, but it will blend anyway. That's why you might play like that. And when you practice also with gaps, controlling that you release fingers, very precise triplet, but then releasing the fingers, and you might help yourself with the other hand like that, making sure that you start moving away already during the last note of the triplet, and you already go up. You see? So there are a lot of positions or a lot of groups where you have to start moving with your forearm while still finishing to play a certain group. Then the next passage in the left hand, we feel ourselves not comfortable in such spots very often, first of all, because of the motion coordination, so don't forget to go in for the third finger and a good support playing out on the thumb. So there is an arch, you see, up, down, and a good support on the thumb is essential, releasing the fifth finger. And another arch, you see. But then when you reach the end of the passage, boom! Always learn with a good support on the fifth finger and after releasing the finger. So, boom, release. Because what happens here often is that when people pull out the hand, be intense. Yeah, so make sure that you reach the bottom, stability in the knuckle, and then release the finger. You can even accent that last note. Boom. Yeah, it should be very stable sensation in the hand when you practice. And then, of course, lighter, yeah, but nevertheless, without getting tense at the end of the position. Then I have a very interesting score suggestion. This is most probably a mistypo because nobody from whom I heard plays like that. Like in my score, I have A flat, E flat in bar 49, which is very strange. I've never heard someone playing like that, and Rachmaninoff himself plays 𝘂𝗶𝗴 twice. So most probably this is a mistypo, but in case you have same thing in your edition, let me know in comments. That would be interesting to see. Is it a common mistake or just my score? Then when you have that passage, of course, also remembering about gradually going in for these black keys and then gradually out. So that movement in and out should be really smooth. Then we have this accent that we play with gravity. Up, down. So whenever you have an accented chord, it's a very general tip that you can apply everywhere. Whenever you have some syncopated chord or tenuto chord or some stronger chord that you have to mark the previous one goes on the movement up. And then you land using gravity. And make sure that you release while boom. So short impulse on that chord and sensation of release in the hand. You don't even have to hold it. You can release the fingers because then you will have to focus them again. So you have to first release. That's why not even holding that chord as long as it is written. Using pedal. And then also not forgetting going in the keyboard here. So out, in. Like that. And also not holding B natural. You connect that on pedal and using dynamic. So marking that chord, diminuendo. But you don't hold that physically. Same in bar 52, it's not really comfortable. That's why you use gravity in order to mark the upper voice and you don't hold it. So it sounds like that without pedal, and like that on pedal. So that legato, that expressiveness, on diminuendo, of course, but that expressiveness comes thanks to your ear control and pedal. But the fingers, you release them. And also, here you play that triplet faster in the left hand. So you might practice like that, making gaps for hand release and switching the position in the left hand. Same thing here. So when we get to these faster passages, longer passages, your default way of practicing them, if you by chance practice moderately, which is always a good idea, is with a good support on each key. Making sure that you don't accumulate tension in fingers that don't work and that you have a proper contact with the key in each finger. Like that. And even that spot that is supposed to be played pianissimo, when you practice it slowly, you practice with a good support, controlling that you don't tense other fingers and that each key is stable. As soon as you notice that some finger doesn't possess enough amount of stability, you concentrate on it, because this tempo in general, if you practice slowly, this is a maintenance work. So you have to make sure that you get rid of tension and that you're able to transfer the weight properly. Of course, as faster you play, as less leaning points you will have. For example, like in this spot, if you play that quickly, you can't go to the bottom of the key for each note. That's why you use just one leaning point here, and the rest will be kind of lighter. You see, like that. So I lean myself at one point per hand position. Other notes are played lighter, but nevertheless, when you practice slowly, each note should be played with good support. So rather mezzo forte, like nice embodied mezzo forte, without additional pressure on the key, but nevertheless supporting yourself in each finger. And then, of course, if you feel any problems here on these leaps in faster tempo, you might learn also separating them release on the last note before the leap, and then stabilizing the fifth finger, boom, and you separate that like that. Stability in the pinky, of course, like that. So you make a gap before that note in order to get used to the idea that you might actually sacrifice physical legato for the sake of efficiency. Then, of course, you will be staying very close, so nobody will actually notice that. Yeah, but and it will blend anyway because we even don't have a damper. So even if you, by some strange idea, would want to play that without pedal, and nevertheless it will all blend because we don't have any dampers here. But releasing the hand between helps. Another confusing spot here is when you have to change fingers, because you would play 3 2 4 3 2. So here you switch fingers 3 2 4 3 2 3 2 4 3 2. That's why you also might learn making a stop before fourth finger. Stop and release the hand. Stop. Like that. So whenever you have a problematic spot, it's useful to learn it making a stop right before that leap or position change and giving yourself time to adjust, but always releasing the hand in between. Left hand also might have temptation to stay. Yeah, we might have a temptation to hold that F sharp, and then we feel a lot of tension. So make sure that you transfer the weight properly to the thumb and back, going in and reaching that thumb note from above. So your hand always works in circles, transferring the weight properly. Like that. And this is an absolutely magical spot, and just remember that speed doesn't have the most importance here. The most important is how crystal-like it will sound. Yeah, so the precision of your touch and the sophisticated color of your piano playing is more important than speed itself. That's why take a little bit of time and play it a little bit slower than you want, but concentrate on that precision in the right hand, not speed itself, but precision and equality. And for example, 𝘀𝗶𝗴h makes this part absolutely miraculously, playing all that on one pedal. So reducing pedal only here when it comes lower. So this might also help you to create some very interesting and grasping audio image. Also here, always reaching the bottom of the chord when you approach the end of the passage in order to stabilize yourself first, and then boom, release the hands. Yeah, because if you will play like that, getting tense at the end of the passage, of course you will seriously limit your self-confidence. You will feel yourself tense. That's why boom, reaching the bottom and then releasing the fingers. And then of course next part, this part needs you to feel the keyboard really well and also to coordinate motions. So the first note of the triplet is your leaning point, and the last one you play already by exiting the keyboard. So down, up, down, up, down, up, always like that. Yeah. So you learn that with a good support, transferring the weight between hands, getting rid of tension, and just trying to establish a relation with the keyboard, because if you trust the keyboard and if you trust your fingers, you immediately feel what this instrument might allow you to do and what they can't, because some instruments have better mechanics, some have heavier or lighter mechanics. You have to feel it, and for that you just have to stay close to the keys and coordinate your motions always. If you play with not enough support, or move your hands, for example, too high, then of course you will have less chances for feeling yourself comfortably. And here also you play these three notes while going away. You see, like that. So not going in the keyboard, but while going away. And the last stage would be to voice these chords in order to make sure that the upper voice is a bit stronger. This is also an uncomfortable spot. So here we go in. And you might also learn that with release, separating these elements. 3 notes separate, and then the last element. Also, you might also play that triplet a bit faster, and then separate that. So you make a small gap. It might help you to articulate, especially when you will play in a hall with some acoustic. It's very great to make such micro gaps in order to help articulation. Then listeners in the hall will hear much better what you are doing actually. If you are interested to study with me, please contact me following the link in the description, and see you next time.